Okay, well, good afternoon. We're here with Judge DeFazio at the Hudson County Courthouse, the old courthouse that is under renovations at this point, but we came in to do this interview. And this is part of the outreach committee and our continuing effort to get distinguished members of the bar and the judiciary on the record. They tell their history, and these will be on the Bar Association's website for people to view. There's a number of them there already that you can go view. And so, with that, Judge, it's really a pleasure. You and I go back many years, a couple of Jersey City boys, but I'm really honored that you're doing this and that I get to be the one to interview you. So
I'm happy you're the one who's conducting the interview,
Right.
Bob. You're right. We go way back.
Yeah. So I was looking through your bio and your resume and all, and it's amazing how I look at it and I see basically a similar path. You were maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of me in your path, but with a similar path. But I had a question when I was going through it. What high school did you go to?
I went to Power Memorial in Manhattan,
Oh, okay.
which is, of course, now and has been closed for many years. And at the time I went to Power, we were living in Weehawken, and so it was quite an experience as a young teenager to be going over to Manhattan. When you look back at the time, you didn't think it was such an adventure, but you know what, it was. And so it was a good experience.
Did you ever deviate to the village? Or?
A little later. I was after I went to Power, I went to Fordham,
Right.
Rose Hill in the Bronx, and I lived up there.
Okay.
And that was also a very enlightening experience.
Right. I'm sure you spent enough time on Arthur Avenue.
A little bit of time over there, and then a little bit of time down in Manhattan, down maybe in the village, and so that was a great experience at Fordham.
Right. And then you went to Seton Hall Law School.
Seton Hall Law School, and I was fortunate enough to do well on the law boards,
Right.
as they were called.
Yeah.
And got into Seton Hall, and I'm glad I went to Seton Hall. It's a good spot to network with Jersey lawyers, as you know. And
Yes.
it gives us a lot of contacts.
Yes. And and there's the rivalry, like our firm Watersburg First McNeil. There's some Rutgers grads, and then there's mostly Seton Hall. But the Rutgers,
I couldn't get in Rutgers.
Yeah, neither could I. Neither could I. But the Rutgers Seton Hall dance.
That's true. But Seton Hall certainly has produced a lot of prominent people in the bar in New Jersey.
Great. Now, when you graduated law school, I saw on your resume that you went right into the Hudson County as an assistant prosecutor.
I was fortunate enough that when I was in law school, I got a summer position with the prosecutor's office. At the time, Judge O'Halloran, who was then the prosecutor, and I was fortunate enough that Judge O'Halloran knew my father, and that gave me an opportunity to go to the prosecutor's office as what they called then a legal intern.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it.
Right.
I got hooked on it.
And you never had a yearning, so to speak, to go into the private practice areas or anything like that? Well,
Well, I had a very rewarding career at the prosecutor's office. I was fortunate I was relatively successful as a trial attorney, and I enjoyed it. And so I was there after I graduated from law school. I was there as an assistant prosecutor
Right.
for a little over 10 years or so.
Yep.
And I was trying homicide cases, and then I had the opportunity to, as a relatively young man, I was appointed as the chief judge in the Jersey City Municipal Court.
Right.
And I did not stay there too long because I was invited to come back to the prosecutor's office as the first assistant prosecutor by Carmen Massano,
Okay.
who of course you know,
Yep.
and who went on to have a tremendous career as the prosecutor and as a judge and as an appellate judge and the chief judge of the
Yeah.
appellate division,
Yeah.
and of course a very dear friend of mine. But I was gratified to go back to the prosecutor's office as the first assistant.
And my sister was the secretary of Carmen's.
Oh, yes.
For years.
Yes,
And O'Connor,
yes,
Sheldon,
yes,
She
I
was
forgot
there
about-
forever.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was, and that was quite a group.
Yes.
Those guys, they were gentlemen, and it was quite a firm.
Now, when you were in the municipal court, I have to ask this question. Because as you recall, my dad was in the Jersey City Municipal Court.
I know.
And he used to love telling the municipal court stories. You know, he would. I still tell many of them today, and I actually have people like when you tell them, they look at it, they go, "Come on," I go, "These are true stories." But you have any that you could tell that
You know, it's
that you remember?
that it was when you handled the prisoners at municipal court, you got some real
Yes.
sights, and of course you saw a lot of familiar faces
Yes.
coming before you, and where your father sat and where I sat was the old municipal court building on Montgomery Street. Bolden Street was
Yeah,
the
my
address,
dad was
but
in
the
there
corner
too.
of right, your father was there, and that of course in and of itself is a different story, because frankly that edifice was long past its shelf life.
Oh,
But so
yeah.
it was an interesting experience, to say the least.
And then you moved back to the prosecutor's office
Back
as the first assistant.
As the first assistant, Carmen Massano invited me back,
Right.
and that was a very, very rewarding experience. And quite frankly, I enjoyed that tremendously. Being the first assistant prosecutor, dealing with the staff.
And you were there about 10 years doing that.
Yeah, about, and then I was. Once again, I was fortunate, and I was appointed to the Superior Court.
Right.
And
That was in 2001 to 2002, the first go around.
And then I had to make a decision, because I was asked
Right.
if I'd be interested in becoming a county prosecutor. Now, it was not a difficult decision for me, because, you know, that was something that I had thought about, and it just came together. And so fortunately I have a wife who is very understanding, and said, "All right, if you want to give up a Superior Court judgeship to become the prosecutor, if that's what you want,
Right.
that's what I want.
And I can speak from personal experience, because at that point, I had left Waters McPherson the first time I was with him, and I went and had my own practice.
That's right.
And I was doing a significant amount of, when you're on your own, it's like you're the chief cook and bottle washer, so, you know,
Right.
you're in criminal court, you're in municipal court, you're in landlord tenant. But many stints in the Hudson County criminal courts. Debbie Simon, you.
Oh, yeah, no, I know, Bob, you of course have had a very diverse career.
But the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office was always, I mean, across the state, this is me talking personally, but they were always a well-renowned group of people, and still to this day.
We had a great office with fantastic people, and of course that's what makes it.
Right.
You have to rely on your staff. So when I was first assistant, we had a great staff, and then when I came back as the prosecutor, many of those people were still there,
Right.
and we had an excellent office.
Right.
And I'm going to say this. It was one of the best in the state. I know if you say the best, that causes a problem, but it really was. And so.
Now, let me ask you this question, because I saw on the resume you gave me that you were a member of the New Jersey Death Penalty Study Commission. Now, having been both prosecutor and a judge, you were seeing especially those kind of cases, from both sides of the equation, so to speak.
Yeah.
And how'd you deal with that?
Well, that was quite an experience on that commission. I was with a lot of high-powered people from different areas of not only practice in the law, but outside of the law, clergy and medical and whatever.
Right.
It was quite a group.
Right. Well, it's a compelling issue, so.
And it was, and it was interesting. Now, I was on that commission as the representative of the County Prosecutors Association. And one of the reasons why I was in that position from the County Prosecutors Association was I had actually tried capital cases here in Hudson County. So it was an educational experience, I have to say. And to make a long story short, the commission, the vast majority of the commission voted that the death penalty in New Jersey should be eliminated for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And I was of that mind.
Okay.
And the County Prosecutors Association, although not unanimous,
Right.
they were of that mind as well. So that was a little something, let's say,
Right.
a little different.
Oh, well, and I'm sure making a decision like that on the commission, and that commission obviously making that finding public, you probably had to deal with that publicly in all sorts of forums and in discussions with people.
Yes. People wanted, of course, they wanted to interview me about it. I testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
About that, and when I was at the committee, I remember that, and I didn't have really prepared
Right.
them. I just wanted to give my position, or the prosecutor's position, and one of the senators, I'm trying to remember exactly who it was, but he asked a question about, well, do you mean to tell me that, if there was a terrorist event and people were killed, and I said, well, I had to think quick. I said, well, that type of case would be taken by the federal government, and they have the death penalty. So,
Right.
but it was quite an experience overall.
Now, you went back to the Superior Court
Right.
in 2012 to 2019. How was it going back? Had it
Well,
changed, or?
Yes.
Because it always changes.
Yes,
'cause
it
you get the
always
younger.
It always changes, Bob, as you know. I mean, you've seen it like I have, and you don't like to really talk about. You go back and all this. Go back and
Remember when?
remember when, and But I have to say, and you know this as well, there was a significant change in the makeup of the judiciary from when we started, when we were trying
Right.
cases as young men,
Yeah.
and when I came back to the bench. I came back to the bench as an older, experienced person,
Right.
which a lot of the judges, when we tried cases, they were older men.
Yes.
They were. I mean,
Oh, I know.
they were. And
And
I
some
have
of
to
them,
say,
some of them were tough.
they were tough, but they knew the lay of the land, to
Yeah.
use that expression. And I have to say, just thinking about it in retrospect, I do think there's something to be said for judges being appointed to the bench when they're later in their careers, when they're older. And the big difference now is a lot of younger
Right.
people
Yeah.
get appointed to the bench. Now, maybe I
Well, yeah, and I get that, and I do see what I
that's
can
a difference.
understand.
I'm not really saying it's good.
No, I can
That's
understand what you're saying.
That's a difference.
Because it's like when you get and it's probably not a good analogy, but it's an analogy. It's like when you get a new associate in the office. Even if they got 2 or 3 years under their belt. Especially if they have 2 or 3, maybe 4 years under their belt, they come in full of, they think they know it all, some of them, and then, all of a sudden they run up, not necessarily a guy like me, but they run up against some of the partners or whatever that have been around
Right.
20, 30, whatever years. And, I've seen associates walk out of an office and say, wow, it's not that they got they got taken down, but they got taught they learned something.
Right.
That they went in there thinking they knew everything, and they came out and knew. And I've had the associates say to me, I thought I really knew this, but I went in to see so-and-so, and I had no idea. I said, well, he's doing it 35 years.
Right.
He forgot he hadn't even learned yet. But I get that. I get that.
And I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too nostalgic, let us say. But look, we were dealing when I was a young assistant prosecutor, really working,
Right.
trying cases.
Yeah.
Which, of course, that's another thing.
Mhm.
I mean, trying cases, I always found to be that was a challenging experience.
Learning experience.
Learning, challenging, nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Okay.
I call them my Lanta moments.
Yeah, and people don't. Now, not everyone has that same reaction as maybe you and I. But anyway, was people like your father, great man, and guy who was smart, but he was street smart. He was both. Like I always kind of thought, guys like you and I,
Right,
that combination. But my point being, older,
right.
people who you would look up to and respect.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of the judges who were in that same class.
Mhm.
So I see that as a difference,
Right.
for better or worse.
Right.
Now, you know.
Well, I think also with the, looking at the bench and, you know, judiciary, all across the nation for that matter, the diversity that has been brought into it has put I think it's put more of a light onto the social issues that drive a lot of the underlying problems, whether they be civil court or criminal court. And I think when you're coming at it from that perspective, that's just my opinion, that diversity and that light being shown upon things does bring a different perspective to it. And that's why the one thing, and I think you would agree with this, one thing good about the law, it's a living, breathing
Absolutely.
apparatus. You know, it's like, you know, anybody that thinks of it as like there's four corners and that's it.
We're not going to be here.
Well,
Let me speak for myself.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be in the Clarence Thomas School of Judicial Thought. All right, to be honest.
no, I
I mean, things evolve.
Right.
Things evolve, and of course, you know, we have to have, and we should expect to have a diverse bench. Although you could still have diversity of thought and a diverse bench with older people.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
saying that's the one thing though that I see as
Right.
as an obvious difference between when we were younger
Yes.
and now. But
There's a song on when we were young. You know what, I wanted to ask you, because you did the prosecutor, you got back and forth, you did the judgeship back and forth, and then now you've been retired since 2019. I mean, it's like you've lived a whole nother life almost. But you're still, I know you're still involved because we're on organizations together. And
right.
stuff. So, how do you like the time that let me ask it this way. The time that you've been off the bench, as you get further away from it, are you finding that you're enjoying it more, or you have you wish you could go back and do some things?
well,
Are you doing any mediating, things of that
I'm not
nature?
doing any mediating. I'm of counsel at the firm of Bruno and Ferraro. But to be frank with you, I'm really not. I'm not practicing law.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, and you're correct, I'm staying, active in the Bar Association. I want to stay in the game. I'm not giving up my license, at least not at this point. Now, I know that there are people who are friends of mine who have retired from either the prosecutor's office or the bench, for that matter, and they have completely divorced themselves from the practice. They've given up their license, and that's a decision. And I think that's probably for some people a good decision. I don't want to do that, but I also, frankly, don't want to get on a regimented schedule as far as work. And if you're not willing to do that,
Right.
you have to realize that there are really limitations on your practice.
Well, you're right. Right. The practice of law is not something that you can hit and miss. You can't go in, come out.
Yeah.
You're either in or you're not.
Yeah, and a couple of people who I spoke to when I was leaving the bench said, when I said, well, I'd like to maybe do something just a little part-time, they said it's going to be very difficult.
Right.
And they're right. Because if you don't want to get on a schedule, and I really don't,
Right,
but I keep busy with some other things as well. I'm a trustee at Hudson County Community College, which I enjoy.
right,
And as you said, I'm active with some organizations, the Bar Association, the North Hudson Lawyers Club. I'm active with that group. So, and many other
right.
organizations as well. So,
So let me ask you this, as, you know, we're putting all this stuff on the record.
right.
If you were talking to a young lawyer today, just coming into the field, what would be like a sage piece of advice you think, something you might have want to have heard, or something that maybe they need to hear today?
Well, I think there's a lot to be said to ask of young lawyers that they get involved for at least some period of time with public service, whatever that might be.
Right,
I think that that's something that it's not expected, but it's something that is owed to society. All right?
right,
We, as a rule, those of us who've practiced, we're very fortunate. We are.
I agree.
And we're comfortable.
I agree.
And so you have to expect, I think,
You have to give back.
give back. Exactly that's exactly it. You have to give back.
Right.
And, you know, you can always say everything else, be prepared, preparation, and all that. Yeah, well, that's true.
Right.
That's true. But it goes beyond that. Being a lawyer goes beyond just actually practicing and making money.
Well, here's an example, and only because this comes to mind a lot. Well, I should say a great deal. There was a teacher I had in high school that if you said a lot, she would like scold you because a lot is a piece of land. You said it's a great deal. So
Yeah.
you know, but a great deal of times you'll look at and you'll see that people, when you're approached, people approach you, especially I know like when I had my own practice, but even today. But today I represent more businesses and corporates and what have you. But when I had my own practice and, you know, mom and pop came through the door, you often had it, especially with young lawyers that we would be dealing with or whatever, we have to say to them, listen, you have to understand, they're coming through the door with a problem, you know? If you're looking at them as a dollar sign, then you're in the wrong business. Because, you know, you gotta fix that problem. You know, they're coming to you because oftentimes they're in destitute situations, whether it's financially, you know, criminally, whatever it is. And you have to understand the person that's sitting in front of you and take it from there. Because we don't make widgets. We don't put 10 widgets on the shelf, and when we get down to 3, we put 7 more. They're coming to us because of, you know, our brain, and you know, hopefully we can help them.
Right.
And if you miss that,
Yeah.
you've missed.
Yes,
You're in the business. You're in the wrong business.
No, you're 100% correct. And I'm sure you have many times through your career, in fact, I know, you've found yourself in the position where you're giving advice for free.
Yeah.
Even I, since I've been of counsel, I find myself people talking to you, and you realize, well, all right, and you wind up you wind up giving them advice,
That's it.
and it's
Well, hopefully you talk,
craps.
hopefully you talk to a plumber or an electrician, and he's
Well,
gonna.
You get nothing, you get nothing for free from, they walk in with a hammer, and you're getting the bill for the house call, all right? So, which, by the way though, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, the public at large don't understand that your stock and trade is giving advice,
Right.
and they have a difficult time wrapping their head around the fact that that advice and that time that you're spending, even though you're not under the sink with a wrench,
Right.
all right? And it's very difficult for, it's difficult for intelligent people to
Right.
understand that.
Well, my father used to tell a story. I gotta tell this because of my father. My father used to tell a story. A guy, his sink backs up in his house, so he calls the plumber. And the plumber comes in and he looks underneath, and he goes into his tool shed, toolbox, and he comes out and he hits the pipe with the hammer, and whoosh, thing flows, right? So he gives the guy a bill, and it's $150. So the guy goes, $150? I want an itemized bill. So the guy goes, okay, $50 to diagnose the problem, $100 to know where to hit the pipe.
But it's funny that I used the under the sink in that, you know, but that's the story. Maybe I heard your father tell that story and it was in the back of my mind. I don't know.
Right. But you know, I really appreciate you doing this. You know, like I said, we're getting these on videos on the record. They're going on the Hudson County Bar Association website. We have a number of individuals we've done. We started out with doing members of the bar that had 50 years or more. We did the Frank Addises and the Lenny Myersons and those guys. And you know, and we've now actually moved down to the judges and what have you. So you're in good company on the website.
Right.
And if you get an opportunity, and you too, I would say go to the website and look at some of the interviews, because there's some really interesting people that we've
I'm
had.
sure.
And now we have another one, in the Honorable Ed DeFazio. I really appreciate you doing this.
Bob,
It was really a
it's
pleasure.
always a pleasure.
We go way back.
Kathy, thank you.
Pleasure.